guys, it's Jess from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my romance contemporary recommendations. These are specifically for the contemporary-a-thon that is going to start on the 17th. Today is the 15th and I'm going to put it up today, so I'm editing and loading it today. So I know most of you who are partaking in the readathon have already chosen your books, but I thought I would throw out some recommendations in case you've decided you didn't want to join yet, or if you're still stuck with your TBR and don't know what you want to have. I have a lot of random romantic contemporary or contemporary romance. It's really contemporary romance, not romance contemporary. Recommendations for you, and I wanted to do this also because Stephanie on Twitter, I completely am blanking on her channel name, I'm gonna link it down below. She had noticed that a lot of people partaking in the readathon are reading contemporary, which is amazing, but they're not reading romance. A lot of them are reading just straight up contemporary young adult or contemporary fiction. They're reading some mystery thrillers, which are also contemporary, but that's that genre. There's not a lot of romance rep in this readathon, so I have a lot to share with you, so I'll get to them. So I have a bunch with orange on the cover in case you guys were interested. So the first is A Love Letter to Whiskey by Candi Steiner. You guys know Candi is like my all-time favorite author. She's amazing as a person and a writer, and this one has orange in the title, and this is about a couple who it's never a good time for them to be together. They meet when she's in high school and he's in high school, and he starts dating her best friend, and obviously he doesn't continue dating her best friend, but they are always at a time in their lives where they aren't okay to be together. So it's heartbreaking, frustrating, angsty, amazing. You'll fly through this and you have to read it. The next one's a super sad and emotional book, but it's still really good. That's Sail Stay by Corinne Michaels. Again, orange in the text and kind of orange in his sweater, even though I think it's brown. But this is about a woman whose husband ultimately betrays her in the beginning of this book, and so she has to move with her two kids, and they're boys, and I love how they're a big part of her life because they're, I think, around like 9 or 10, around that age range, and she falls for a guy who owns a farm, I believe, and it's really sad because she's getting over what had happened, and her sons are trying to understand it, and then things happen with her sons in this. So good. I definitely recommend this one. The next one is The Allure of Dean Harper by R.S. Gray. This is book 2 in the series, but you can definitely read it as a standalone because it's just like the friends of the people in the first book. This is about a food critic blogger, so like she goes around to restaurants and blogs about it, and I think she's looking for a job in a restaurant, and so her friend hooks her up with Dean Harper, who owns a lot of restaurants, and he is a total jerk to her, but they have to work together. Super fun romance. R.S. Gray always brings a good romance, so I definitely recommend this. Another R.S. Gray you probably are tired of me talking about, but that is Scoring Wilder, and this is a soccer romance, so it's perfect for this time because it's soccer season right now, and it's a girl who is trying out for the Olympic team, I believe, but it's her college team that she's working with, I think, yeah, and it's the coach of their team that is the relationship with, and he is a hotshot soccer player, and it's really, really good, and I recommend this one as well. And the last one is November 9 by Colleen Hoover. This is about a guy who is a writer, and he meets this girl, and it's the day before she's leaving to move across the country, and they spend the day together and they really like each other, and he is going to start writing a romance novel, and they decide to meet every day on November 9th, and it's really emotional, and it's such a stark contrast of where they are in their lives each year because you only see them from one year to the next. You think about how much a person changes, and it's just so much more clear how that person's changed when you only see them on one day every year. It's so good, and then she doesn't know if he actually likes her or if he's doing it because of his book. So good. So many secrets. It's Colleen Hoover, and it has orange on the cover. The next category is a darker taboo romance, so I have two of my favorite authors who write this, and the first one is going to be Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. This, I think, is just a really angsty, angry book, and that's why I'm recommending it for this challenge. I mean, you can stretch these categories as much as you like. This is about a girl named Ryan, and she has been pen pals with Misha ever since they were little, and their teachers paired them up together. They have been there for each other through everything, though they've never met in real life, and then all of a sudden Misha stops writing to Ryan, and she's like, what's going on? And then a new guy shows up in school, and he absolutely hates her, and she's dealing with trying to live up to the person that she says that she is to Misha versus who she really is. She doesn't like the person she is, but because of the mean people in school, she feels like she has to have a certain attitude, and it's a very angsty romance, and it's amazing. You can't get any more dark than Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. This one's about the 4 horsemen who are Michael, Kai, Will, and Damon. And this is Michael's story. Kai's is book 2, and it is long, but oh my gosh, you're gonna fly through this. Rika is dating Michael's brother and is like kind of been bred to be with his brother because their families are super close and super rich. And Michael's friends with these 3 guys, 4 of them, who kind of like run the town. And something happened one night on Devil's Night where they went to jail and they all blame Rika for it, so it's flashing back between the present and the past, and so it's definitely a really dark romance. They really play with Rika's emotions in her head, but it's such a good romance and you should read it. Next I have Misbehave by Charlie Rose. This is a student-teacher romance. Disclaimer, that's disgusting to happen in real life, should never ever happen as a teacher. Big no-no, but I couldn't help loving this book. It is about a girl who's from the wrong side of the tracks. Her stepbrother is kind of a little bit too handsy with her, but she knows that he has a really bad temper and a really bad home life, and she gets into this prep school, and so she goes there to try to make a better future for herself, and it's her romance with one of her teachers. Charlie Rose is an amazing writer, so you should check this out. The last one for this category is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This one is a romance. It's an age gap, and it's definitely taboo because it's a girl and her boyfriend's father. There's no cheating on the main couple's part. I will say there's other cheating in this book, but not on their part. And she ends up having to go live with Pike, who is her boyfriend's dad, with her boyfriend because he is just a lazy bum and they have no money, and so they need to move in with his dad. So it's really good, and it starts out on her birthday and she spends it with Pike and doesn't know that it's her boyfriend's father yet though. Really taboo, but really amazing. Next are diverse books. So the first one I have for you is Maybe Someday by Colin Hoover. This actually has a deaf main character, which I absolutely loved. Ridge is a deaf, but he's a musician, and it's Sydney who helps him write, but Ridge is in a relationship and he refuses to end that relationship, and it's for a heartbreaking reason, though Sydney's falling in love with him. Brilliant, amazing, one of my favorite by Colleen Hoover. Next, I've already seen on a lot of people's TBRs, I've seen on a lot of recommendation lists, and that is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. This is about a girl who has Asperger's, and she is tired of not being able to be in an intimate relationship, and she is trying to be better at doing that stuff, and so she hires an escort who is half Asian. I don't remember his ethnicity, but he is the sweetest person ever, and he is an escort, of course, for a reason. That always happens in these books, and it's their romance. Super adorable, amazing, so relatable. I loved it. And the last one for diverse reads is The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. This is about an African-American woman who is stuck in an elevator with this doctor. She didn't know he was a doctor at the time though, and they just kind of sit and chat, and they decide to go to a wedding together, and they live on opposite sides of California, I believe. I think it might be opposite sides, live super far away from each other, so like it's long distance. They don't know if they really want to make something out of it, but they can't resist seeing each other. They do acknowledge the fact that, and discuss the fact that they are a biracial couple, because a lot of people might not be okay with that, so they discuss that fact. It's really, really great romance. I would definitely recommend it. So the rest of the categories, pretty much any of these will fit for. If it's a new to you author, a 5-star prediction, I think I gave all these 5 out of 5 stars, or audiobooks. I've listened to some of these audiobooks, so I'm gonna go ahead and get to these. The first one is The Law of Moses by Amy Harmon. This one's about a guy who was just found, and the main character was always told to stay away from him, and so she kind of doesn't listen, and then he leaves town, I believe, and comes back. It's been a long time since I read this. It's a really emotional. I think there's a little tiny bit of magical realism in here, but that's okay because it counts. The next one is Shameless by Lex Martin. First, I want to recommend Dear Clementine by Lex Martin. The audiobook of that series is phenomenal. I know they are on Overdrive, and they're probably on Scrib too, but they're amazing. You need to read those for audio. This one is about a guy who becomes the sole parent of his niece because her parents passed away and they owned a farm, and their helper on the farm is left on the farm to help try to keep the business running, and it's their romance between the person that was the helper and the uncle who is now has the custody of the daughter, who the person from the farm, Catherine, she has a really close relationship with. Kat, I'm pretty sure they call her Kat. It's a really emotional, really amazing romance, and there is a second book too. I love Lex Martin, you should check her out. Next is Sweet Addiction by J. Daniels. This is short, this is super fun. The couple meets at a wedding. The girl owns a bakery, and she has some miscommunication happen in the beginning after the wedding. wedding that she confronts the guy about, and it's really cute, it's really adorable. That means the same thing, but I recommend this one. Next we have Weightless by Candi Steiner. This is a really emotional book as well. She's recently out of high school and her boyfriend broke up with her, and she is really self-conscious about her weight, and people make comments about her weight, and so she decides to lose some weight and get a personal trainer, and her trainer is the bad boy from high school, and it's their romance, and it's really good, and I definitely recommend this to everybody. Next I have Addicted to You by Kristen, Becca, Richie. This is a addicting romance that is about addictions. So Lily and Lo are best friends, and they've been pretending to date because Lo is an alcoholic and Lily is addicted to sex, and so they kind of feed into each other's addictions and enable each other, realize that's really bad, and then they start to actually fall for each other for real. This is the beginning of a super long series, but it's so worth it, so good. You should read this. Next I have two from Korekara because she's just amazing. The first one is Losing It by Korekara. This is about Bliss, who is, I think she's a theater major in college, and she is determined to lose it, and she almost does. This British guy she meets reading Shakespeare in a pub, well really a bar, but I just said pub because he's British, but it's at a bar on campus, and then the next day is the first day of school and it's her theater professor. It's their romance, really cute. And then I have All Lined Up by Korekara. I listened to actually both the Losing It series and this series on audio. They are both phenomenal series on audio. I think I listened to all of them except for the last one of the Losing It series, but I've read all of them now. And this one's actually about the football coach's daughter falling for the new football player who is trying to get the spot on the football team to beat out the current quarterback, who was her ex-boyfriend, who used her and broke her heart. So it's very hard for her to trust football players because of her dad, but if you love football and you love new adult, you definitely have to read this. Next I have On the Island by Tracy Jarvis Graves. This is also a taboo romance too. It really works for that, and this is about a woman who is on her way to tutor this kid who, I think he's 16 in the beginning of this book, and he had cancer, and so he missed out on a lot of school. So she's flying to this like exotic place for vacation with his family to help tutor him and catch him up on the years that he missed, and they actually end up getting stranded on an island together. Their pilot has a heart attack, so it's just them two, and years pass in this, and it is their romance. And so I will say it's kind of taboo because it's student teacher, but it's so, I feel like it's really okay. It's an age gap, but he really matures throughout the years, and like they've only have each other for years, so it's really, really, really good. I could not stop reading. I read it in a day. I recommend. The last one you should all know because Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Reads is obsessed with this book, and that is The Hating Game by Sally Thorn. My sister even read this and she loved it, and she's super picky about her romances. This is about a guy and a girl who work at a publishing company, and their publishing companies actually merged, so they are the assistants, so they're both bosses of the different companies that have to work together, and they are enemies. They hate each other, and they compete for a lot of things, which is really funny. They have to at one point compete to decide whose idea wins for like a staff retreat, and it's hilarious, and it's their romance, and they start to grow to like each other. It's been a while since I've read this. I definitely need to give it a reread. I might listen to the audiobook this time around. Super cute though, and I love it, and the cover is just gorgeous. And those are my contemporary romance recommendations. Let me know down below if you've read any of these, what your thoughts are, if you're going to add any of these to your contemporary-a-thon TBR, or if they're already on your TBR. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.